Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In the last one we started adding reloading functionality to our game, and in this one we're just going to be continuing that. So let's go ahead and get started. So where we picked up, we want to create a actual reload event inside of our player to run for when we run out of bullets when we are shooting our weapon, and then we're going to call this reload event many different times. So we have to go ahead and create it. So let's make a custom event and call this reload, like that. So now that it at least exists, we can call it into the world. So I'm gonna head back to our weapon base, and I am going to grab our player, and I'm gonna say reload. So even though there's nothing actually inside this event yet, I am going to just hook it up. And then I'm going to want to do this when we're not holding the sniper rifle. We want to be able to reload. And we can just comment box this and say, yeah, automatically calls reload event, or something like that. We'll add one more thing to this eventually, but for the time being, that looks good to me. And what is going up? Cannot find the function. Oh, compile, and then compile. Okay, that fixed that problem. One other thing that we want to do before is we're going to finish this fire event, because we, in our weapon base, we created some of these functions from before, but we didn't actually plug them in, and they have more to do with the firing than the actual reloading. All right, so out of this true branch, we're going to make another if statement, and we want to get the current weapon, and we want to call do we have ammo. And oh, gotta change one thing really quickly. So back in our weapon base, for do we have ammo and is there ammo left, what we're gonna do is we're going to click on pure. We're gonna make these pure functions. And by making them pure functions here, I'll make one not pure, and then the other one will be pure. So if I pull out, do we have ammo? See how it doesn't have an execution wire anymore? And we'll say, is there ammo left? So this is a pure function, and this is what's known as a not pure function. This is like just like what a normal function would look like. It has execution wires. So when you do it like this, it kind of works more like a macro where you can just plug that straight in. It doesn't need to have these white execution wires. So we want to make both, since these are just checking, like, you know, it's just returning true or false based on a couple of variables, we're going to make these pure. So just like a different way of doing it. So yeah, we'll check before we can shoot. We're going to say, can we shoot? If we can, then we're going to be like, okay, well, do we have ammo? If we have ammo in our magazine, then we will go ahead and we will shoot our weapon, start shooting, which was this event here, or function, I guess. Use those words interchangeably sometimes. If we don't have ammo, then we're going to check, do we have ammo left? Is there any ammo at all? Okay. If we do have ammo left, then we're going to call that reload, this event. If we don't, then we're going to play a 2D sound. And there's one called dry fire. And if these might be busted too. Let's just slot in dry fire 1 for now. All right, and then we can say reloads weapon if there is reserve ammo. Yeah, I was gonna say something about the dry fire or like plays. So this dry fire is just like if you have literally 0 ammo left, it will do that. So this is like the final place it can go is here. Because remember, if you remember, is there ammo left is checking if we have ammo totally, just like in general, in the reserve. So if we have ammo, if our current ammo is greater than that, then we can shoot our gun. But if this number equals 0, if there's no bullets currently in our magazine, but we still have reserves, it'll reload. If we don't have ammo, if our first big number equals 0, our current bullets, and the smaller one, our reserves, then it'll just be like, you don't have any ammo left, period. Life sucks for you. Go find some more. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make this reload event, and this is going to be pretty lengthy, so I'm going to drag this down into some open space. Let's drag out a wire, and as usual, we want to do a check, and I'm going to store this in a macro and say, can we reload? Typically I use macros when I have multiple booleans that I want to check at the same exact time. Typically when I use like an and or an or. So first thing we're going to be like, are we not reloading? And we have switching weapon and not switching weapon. And we're going to say or here and then return that value. So what this macro is saying, it'll return true if we are not reloading or not switching weapons. So I don't want to be able to reload if we are already reloading or if we are currently in the middle of switching weapons. And switching weapons only lasts for 0.3 seconds. It's a very quick animation, but I don't want to awkwardly interrupt that thing because that would be weird. So let's drag can we reload and plug the macro in. All right, and then out of the true branch, so we're not reloading already, we're not switching weapons. We're gonna do 3 different things. So, do we have is reloading? We wanna set that to be true. Can shoot, we wanna set this to be false. We don't wanna be able to shoot while we're doing this. And is aiming, also false. Don't wanna be able to aim while we're doing this. The other thing that we want to check is we want to get is sprinting. And we'll say not. And we'll say branch. And we'll check. If we're not sprinting while we're doing this, then we want to get the character movement component. We want to set our max walk speed to whatever our max walk speed is. I set it to 750. So what this is doing here is this is speeding the player up if they reload while they're aiming. So what we're going to do eventually is when we aim down sights of our weapon, our character is going to slow down. They will not move at 750 speed. So if we're not sprinting currently, we want to just reset. This is just resetting our speed back to its default. All right, and then we'll deal with this then too later. That's actually a specific one that we're going to do for shotguns. Because shotguns, we want to have reloading work a little bit differently because it's individual pellets. All right, now let's pull out a timeline and let's call this weapon pull down. And we're going to play this from the start every single time. Let's open it up, add a float track. We'll call this pull down. I want this to last 0.5 seconds. We'll add 2 keyframes. The first one will be at time 0 value of 0. The second one will be at time 0.5 and a value of 1. So it'll look like that. And then what we want to do is we want to make these auto. So it's just a little bit smoother like that. All right. So you don't want this to loop or anything. You can close down out of this and keep that open. Okay. Cool. So out of the update, we want to check if we're reloading. And this is coming out of the update, if I didn't already mention that. So out of the update, if we're reloading, then we want to actually just promote this to a variable, and we'll call this pull down timer. So we're essentially just setting that 0.5 as like a variable and just making sure that we're reloading while that's happening. When this finishes, so it finishes that 0.5 seconds, we're gonna hit a delay, and this delay is gonna be promoted, and this is going to be known as reload. Oh, actually, take that back. Don't put reload time in here. Let's go into the weapon base and let's make reload time, because we want to be able to apply this variable to our child blueprints. So make that a float, and then let's grab current weapon, the current weapon's reload time. Whoa, not what we want. Okay, and we'll set that as the delay. Like that. And you can make this default time like 1.5 seconds or whatever you want. That's going to be your default reload time. When this is done, we want to make another timeline, and we'll call this weapon pull up. It's going to pull our weapon. So this is going to move our weapon downward. This is going to pull our weapon back upward. We want this to always play from start. You hold down Control and grab the note if you aren't familiar how to do that. Okay, and this is going to be the exact opposite of the other one. So we'll call this pull up, and 2 keyframes, 0.5 seconds. This one is going to be time 0, value of 1. The second one is going to be time of 0.5 and value of 0. It's going to be the inverse of the other one. And we're going to auto do this as well. So it's moving from that other value, the 100% of itself, and going back to the original. Cool. We're moving along here. Out of the, we're going to grab this and grab 2 more of them and pull that out of the update as well as out of the finished, just to make sure that we are still reloading. And then this is going to be, we can just put pull down timer in here again, like that. You don't need to do it. Even though it's pull down timer, it can still work for the pull up. It's fine. And then here's what we want to do now. We want to get our current weapon again. And we want to reload calculation. So remember, this is what's doing the math. It does math for bullets. If I open this up, this is this function. So it's doing the math for us. And it's doing it when we're done with pulling the weapon down, pulling it back up. And then all we need to do is take is reloading and set that to false. We're not reloading anymore. And take can shoot and say, yes, you can shoot your gun now. So that is all that is doing right there. And then for a couple little pieces of flair here, we can go into our weapon base and add a variable, and we'll call this reload start sound. And we'll make this of type sound. Do we want to make it a sound cue? I guess it depends what we slot that in as, right? Let me just check quickly what I did that before in my notes, and I'll get back to you in a second on what type of variable that I did. Okay, so I actually made this a sound wave. So sound wave object reference, reload start sound. And then we'll make a reload end sound. Oh gosh, don't want that apostrophe. All right, and so these can be slotted in as whatever. So now back in our player here, out of this pull down timer, let's do a do once node like this. And then let's play a 2D sound. We'll have that sound be the current weapon end. Get reload sound end. Plug that in as the sound, like that. Feel free to change the volume however you like. Then we'll have a delay node. We'll have this delay for like a second. And then we're going to reset our do once The reason that we're doing it this way is to make sure that sound doesn't play more than once. Because like sometimes you can get caught in these timers and make this really weird spamming type sound, which is just very awkward every time. And then coming out of then 2, let's just do it out of here. Let's play a sound 2D, current weapon. Let me get the reload start sound. And then do it like that. All right. So here is our reload event all finished up. Like this, we're gonna reload. We're gonna make sure that we aren't switching a weapon or currently reloading. It's gonna disable like the spam of it. Then we're gonna say we are reloading. We can't shoot, can't aim. We're gonna set our walk speed back to normal. We're gonna play a sound. Then we're gonna run this little animation that we'll set up in a future video. We'll link that up in our animation blueprint. Then we'll do that we'll keep the weapon down there for the reload time, whatever we slot that in as. We'll pull the weapon back up. We'll do the math for our bullets. Then we'll say we're not reloading anymore and we can shoot, and then we'll play that sound. All right, so that works out great. We can comment box like this section or something, and we'll say controls animations for, we'll just say for reloading. Be generic about it, like that. I only like to comment back certain parts of the script that's like, I might not know what it does or something like that. So yeah, that all looks good. We only have like one more thing to do, so let's do that now. Let's go to our project settings and let's actually create an input for this action mapping, call it reload, and make it binded to the R key. Typical first-person shooter things. Then in our player action mappings, let's go ahead and go underneath reload. Not you. The action event reload. And let's do a couple of things here. So let's grab the loadout as per usual and switch it on. So only want to be able to do this if we actually have a gun to prevent bugs. Because if I hit R and I don't have a weapon, it's going to get confused. So let's create the current weapon. This is where some of our functions are going to come into place. Is mag full or empty? And if you remember, has weapon. If you remember, we have a return value. So is our magazine full or empty? So it's doing this, turning this variable can reload on and off. So if we can reload, the next thing we want to check is, are we sprinting? There we go. If we try to reload and we are sprinting, then we want to call movement stopped. If you remember, that slows our character back down to normal and starts the regeneration of our stamina. If we're not sprinting, then we will pull out another branch and we'll put movement stopped. We'll run that event, then we'll continue on that way. Then we'll get the current weapon, and we want to check if we're currently, oh, we haven't created that yet, have we? Okay, well, let's do that then. So let's create a new variable in our weapon base and call it is firing. Make it a Boolean. All right, and then I want to make a new function. This is going to be the most pathetic function you've ever seen in your life. But we're going to call this stop shooting. And all we're going to do in stop shooting is take is firing and make it false like that. Literally, that's it. And then inside of our start shooting, out of this line trace, just for now, let's make is firing true like that. So now back in our player, let's get is firing. So if we are firing, let's pull out a branch. Oh, we already did. Awkward. Okay. So if we try to reload while we're firing our weapon, we don't want to keep shooting the gun while we're reloading, because then the math is going to get really confused. We're holding down the trigger of the automatic weapon. Our current bullets are going down, but it's also trying to do the math. So we want to stop shooting like that, and then let's out of the false call reload, and then drag it in like that. So if we're so if we're firing, we'll stop shooting before we can reload. If we're not firing, then we'll just reload. So we can say stops gun from shooting during reload. So there's a whole lot of these weird little things. You're like, oh shoot, I don't want my gun to be firing while I'm trying to reload it. But these are the things when you're scripting, you gotta think of everything. So we're thinking of everything in this class. Okay, I got you covered. The next thing to do is to head on into your weapon children, and you can slot in some sounds for the reload start and end, and then you can set a reload time. And then make sure you just go in and make sure that your magazine size is not at 30, which is the default. Set it to whatever you have as your current ammo. And then if you hop in and play, you'll see that if I pick up the pistol, for example, and I shoot, you see our ammo is going down. If I hit the R key, it's reloading, and if I try to shoot, it's not letting me until it gets reset back to 12 and I can shoot. Then if I let this go back down to 0, and I'm trying to shoot, it's not letting me, it's reloading automatically, and it did all of that math for me. Like that. And then if I were to do something like, let's say I set this to be 24, or let me just set this to be 12 or something like that. So then if I come over here and pick up the pistol and I'm shooting and I'm running out of ammo, so it's reloading right there. Now if I try to reload, it's not letting me reload because I have 0 in the reserve. Shoot, not letting me reload, still not. And then I don't have ammo, I can't reload, nothing. I guess the only thing that happened that was weird is that it played the reload sound, but that would be a quick and easy fix that we could just implement by making sure, by doing a check like that, is there ammo left? We could add a branch or something like that right here, and then right there, doing that. But yeah, that should be rather easy to put in there and do. Interesting. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll get that sorted out and I'll get back to you on that to find something that works. But yeah, that is reloading in a nutshell. It all works. It's beautiful. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.